Hi, let's do a 5-minute tour of Robin, starting with the compliance check. The Robin compliance check goes through each of your school websites and checks whether they have all of the information required by the DFE. And so you can see here across a trust all of the different schools that have been checked and how much of that information has been found. If I go into one of the schools, you can see a summary of all of the areas that have been checked, and then you can see for each of the individual requirements where Robin looked for that information and what was found. The requirements vary depending on the school phase and provision, and Robin makes sure it only checks the requirements that apply to each of the schools. Some of those checks are quite high level, like contact details, and others get into a lot more detail, like admissions arrangements, where Robin is not just checking that the document is there, but is checking that a bunch of the sub-requirements have also been met, and of course making sure it's checking for the right date of admission arrangements. When you're looking at your results for a school, you can also add your own notes, and you can also change the result of a Robin judgment if you have updated the website, for example. As well as being able to see by school within Robin, you can also look by requirement. So if I flick over to that here, we're looking at each of the requirements, and then we can see how many of the schools that requirement applies to and how many have that information. So for a Trust Central team, I think this is sometimes even more useful than looking by school because you can spot themes across the trust. So here, for example, we can see that quite a few schools are missing the total open time. That's a very common gap. I can click into that requirement and I can see school by school which schools have that information and which schools don't have it. Where schools do have the information, I can also see specifically what the school website says. At the same time as doing the compliance check, the Robin website review includes a policy audit. The policy audit brings together any of the policies that are found on each school website, not just those on the policies page. So here you can see for each school how many policies Robin found, how many are overdue review, and how many of the required policies are missing. If we look into an example, we can see line by line each of the policies that's been found. For each policy, you can open the document, you can look at the page it was found on, and you can also see those review dates. The review dates are read by Robin within the policy document itself. If the school website points to a trust website for where the policies are hosted, we follow that link and we'll also show that's where the policy has been found. The policy audit includes the required policies, but also any other policies that have been found. And that can be really useful for looking across the school website, tidying up any issues. For example, this very common case where the most recent policy is on the policies page, but an older version of the same policy is on a different page on the website. Robin can help you tidy up all of that stuff. Just like with the compliance check, with the policies, we also have a view across the trust by category. So here we can see for each of the different policy categories, how many schools have that policy and how many documents there are and how many are overdue review. Gives you a really interesting view across your trust of the types of policies your schools are publishing. And if there's a particular policy area you're interested in, like attendance, you can click into that category and you can see all of the documents for each of the schools, where they're hosted, what they're called, and what their review dates are. That's the end of my quick demo of Robin. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.